Call to order of the Kearney School Board of Education meeting. Pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Meredith Cole, Brian Ham, Dan Holloway.
Here.
John Kern.
Here.
Bruce Schweitzer. Here. Susan Morman, Darlene Bailey.
Here. We do have a quorum. Adopt them in the agenda.
Move that the agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Public comment. Tonight we have Holly Huxtable here,
Yes.
so you may come up.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I have a note so I don't leave anything out on my phone. So, as you know, I'm Holly Huxtable. I have 3 kids enrolled in Kearney School District right now. The main reason why I asked to speak tonight is because of safety issues at their school in particular. I can't speak for other schools, but I have heard similar things from parents about the other schools in the district. So, even prior to the shooting that happened in Texas, I've found myself having thoughts of concern when I've been up to their school while school's in session, particularly. So I've been up there to drop things off, go to lunch, you know, whatever, normal parent things. And the front doors have been wide open. And I've had the thought, you know, I'm obviously not meaning harm, but what if somebody, you know, was driving by or saw it and then got the idea to go do something terrible, knowing that their doors are open throughout the day. They could just walk right in, they wouldn't even know. I think that's terrifying. I really do. And even when the doors are closed, I just push the button and they let me right in. They don't ask who I am. They don't, you know, I'm assuming there's a camera, but you can't know every single person without asking who they are or anything like that. You just can't. So a lot of surrounding districts have done research, don't let anybody in without having an ID scan and having like an access point for the ID scanner before they're even allowed into the building. The way that their school has it set up is that you push the button, you're allowed access to the entire building. You can go to the office, nothing's locked, you know, it's kind of scary. It probably needs to be revised, to be honest. I don't like that people can come into the building, not everybody's accounted for. It's just not good. Another issue that concerns me is that there's only one resource officer for all the buildings. And Kearney is growing. There's a multitude of buildings. You know, I don't know how many schools there are exactly. I know there's a lot of elementary schools, middle school, junior high, high school. So, I mean, I don't know how that one person could protect every school. That just is also kind of alarming. There's a lot of retired veterans, police officers that could take on the job of protecting our schools better. Recess is another vulnerable time. At their school in particular, they're right in front of the school. Anybody driving by can see them. Doesn't seem like there's any type of security. That scares me a lot too, because I don't know, I just feel like anything could happen. I don't think that, I know there's teachers out there, but still, just the fact that they're right in sight of everybody right in front of the school. Metal detectors, especially at the middle school, junior high, and high school, would be really beneficial because it would prevent any students from bringing in a weapon of any kind. We know that happened. Our school district has spent a lot of money on sports and extracurricular activities, so it seems plausible that we could spend some on security measures, because these are just extremely lax, and I feel like everybody has the mentality that Kearney is a safe town, that nothing's going to happen here. And I feel like those are the places that are targeted the most, that are lax on security procedures, you know, where small town mentality. I feel like places that they know that there's high security, that's more difficult, may not be as much of a target.
I'm gonna have to let you know that your time is up, so
Okay,
can
that's
you
about
wind
it.
up? Okay. I invite you, I hope that you're planning to stay for the whole meeting
Sure.
because there is an update about safety and security by Dr.
Okay.
Miller later in the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Consent agenda?
Move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Anybody have any questions about any of the items in the consent agenda? This is just a question I don't remember. Do we usually get the bus routes this time, this month, and then they're updated next month, probably? Do we approve them again, or do we approve them with?
Some bus times can change, based upon if construction or the alleviated, so there'll be some minor revisions, so we can approve them.
Usually final drafts are always posted like in the paper and stuff, right? They're not closer to school in August.
Don't know the answer to that. That's not fair.
I think there was just one concern about some construction. So one of the, I believe one of the routes might look as presented a little longer, but we're pretty confident that the construction will be completed. So if anything, the route will be a little bit shorter than what's been presented.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions about consent? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Okay, action items. Information, sorry. Here we go, information. Financials?
We presented the unaudited final report for June. We are a little bit more than we were June 30th due to some interest, activity fund receipts, community receipts. So, good year ending. The final reports and the auditors come in October, November.
Okay, very good. Any questions?
That, the 22,000, is that fund two? Where is that going back? Fund one.
Operating fund.
Okay, thank you.
Does that roll into next year's budget for
Yes.
personnel development?
Yes.
Okay.
Construction update?
Good evening, everybody. So, quick update on the new district office. So we're making good progress. Several of the trades are there working. We have completed demolition. We have started, we've framed out all the new office spaces, and we've got mechanical, electrical, those kind of things going above ceiling right now and in the walls. Door frames have showed up, so we're kind of in that rough end stage. Goal over the next 2 weeks is to start drywall. And then, if you look at the work between now and next meeting, at this time next month, we should be in a spot where walls are prime painted in there, ceiling grid will be going in, those kind of things, and probably getting ready for carpet and those kind of things. So, good progress to date. We've been out there several times with district staff and the design team. So we've worked out some of the little kinks that you find when you demo spaces, and we think we're on a good path. So still tracking for a mid-October completion there, but everything's going well so far. Big picture elementary school stuff, design is ongoing there. They're preparing some concepts for the district to review, but things are progressing. So, not a whole lot to update this month, but things are tracking how they should be right now.
I've had some questions about the theater
Yeah.
stuff, and even though we're not moving chairs and all that kind of stuff, that's work in progress behind the scenes. We're still bidding stuff, looking at
Well,
stuff.
yeah, so some things have changed, and I'm not as much in the loop as the DLR team is because they're designing it. The original thought was to try to get design complete, bid it out, and then maybe insert some of those things when they delivered. So when the lighting came in, let's find a time when the school's not using it, put it in. When the speakers came in, do that. Some information that has been uncovered as we've been talking to more of the suppliers of those. Some of those are really long lead time items, like 6 months plus. And so I don't know that we've fully landed, but the last conversation I was in on is that work may not happen for sure this semester, and I don't know if it's going to happen next semester. So there are some negatives to trying to piecemeal it. It's more expensive if you do that. It's more intrusive. So that could be something that may want to push till the next summer. I don't think that's finalized yet, but there's a lot of those discussions happening behind the scenes with staff and the design team right now.
Okay.
So,
It's more likely next summer.
yeah, I mean, some of the parts and pieces, I think some of that equipment was pushing 9 month lead time. And so it's not great to go into a space, touch part of it, and then come back later and have to touch it again, because sometimes you might, be doing some rework and things like that. So everybody's trying to keep budget in mind and efficiency and school disruptions. So it's an ongoing conversation.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Safety and security update.
Thank you. And Ms. Huxtable, I appreciated your public comment tonight. In light of Uvalde, Texas, and our hearts go out to those families. Every time there's a national tragedy like that, we have to go back and be reflective of our current practices. And that's the steps that the district is currently taking. This past Sunday, they released the preliminary findings. And we have to do that with preliminary and final findings and make sure we take that incident and we learn from it and grow from it. When we look at safety in schools, there's 3 major factors. It's the culture that we build within our schools, where students feel safe, that they can come to an adult and report. The second thing is vigilance of staff, and making sure that we have our safe practices in place, making sure doors are shut, and we're following all those safety rules so that we don't get lulled into a sense of complacency. And the third thing is the relationship that we have with our first responders, police department and fire department. Now, I have to give a lot of credit to Adam Kirkland, who's here with us this evening, and Eric Nolan, our director of operations. First week on staff, Eric Nolan and Adam, they scheduled a meeting with the city of Kearney, the police department, also the fire department, and reestablishing some of those pre-COVID relationships. And many of us may not be aware, we used to have a safety task force that would meet 4 times a year with city officials and go through some of those safety measures. And so what we're doing is we're reinstituting that. So we have that tight relationship with the police department, fire department. In the event that something were to occur, we would be quick to respond. I know Officer Kirkland, he's done a great job of going through revising training this summer. We're looking at our district plan. We're looking at our building plans. There's a plan for retraining staff. So there are active measures in place. Again, we don't want to get lulled into a sense of complacency. We're taking this very seriously, and this has to be an ongoing discussion as we move forward. So those are some of the steps that we're taking now. And again, I think it's something that we will continue to evaluate over the course of the year.
Any questions? Obviously, we're all very concerned about this, and that's one of the things that I'm glad that we've hit the ground running this summer to respond. And also, I believe that there's initiatives going on at the state level, best practices and some of those kinds of things that will filter down through us too. And I think that the issue is heightened awareness for everyone, and I really do appreciate what you said, because I think we have been maybe a little bit lax, and we need to step in and make sure we do the right thing. And I think all of our folks are committed to do the right thing, but just like a lot of other things, we have ongoing training to remind us and continue to learn best practices and how to do things better, not just do what we've been doing, but can do better. Thank you. Action items. Parent handbook. Student parent handbook.
Any questions? Are we good?
Oh, well, do you move it and then I ask for questions? We've done it both ways. You move it and then I ask if there's questions.
Move to approve the student parent handbook for Kearney Early Education Center as presented with a delegation of authority to the superintendent or designee to make revisions as to formatting, clerical, administrative changes as deemed appropriate.
Second.
I do want to make one comment. I understand that we put the formatting, clerical, administrative, but as a board, I'd like to know that if we're going to make those changes, that they're highlighted and updated to the board, what those changes would be or could be, just because everybody has a different definition of what administrative changes could be. And so I would like to at least be able to have seen those in case, you know, for whatever reason, if someone were to ask me a question about a handbook, I at least am aware of the changes that are made.
So-
It's turning up the.
And that'd be all. Yeah, Mila.
Yeah, get it before,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think we've all read them, but if any of us have any
They all
suggestions.
now pretty flow
Yeah,
together.
they do.
Correct.
Well, they tied to our policies exceptionally well through Ed Council, so I think it is more seamless.
Right.
But if we are making changes, it is important that the board be aware because we're managing
Sure.
the superintendent, and if the superintendent says, yeah, I want to make this change, we may want to know about it.
And we have made some changes, so we're in the process of doing, some minor revisions. Some of it is grammatical and clerical, some of it's, word choice, just for to add clarity, so we can work on that and get that back to you. I will say the handbooks are more aligned probably than they've ever been. I think while the work has been fast, it's been good work, and it's triggered some hearty conversation.
It's a lot of work, so thank
A lot
you.
of work, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And at this point, we're not looking at substantive changes because we've pretty much done all that heavy lifting, right?
The bulk of it, yes.
Yes. Okay. Very good.
Did you second?
Do I have a second? All in favor? Thank you. Approval of the employee manual.
Move to approve the employee manual as presented with delegation of authority to the superintendent or designee to make revisions as to formatting, clerical, or administrative changes as deemed appropriate.
Second.
Well, make the same point.
Okay.
Okay,
I had a
check that
question.
box.
I had a question, and perhaps it says this in the manual, and I didn't get, I was reading it last night, so, do employees sign off that they have read it every year?
Yeah, there's actually a form in the back.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay,
there
just
is.
want to make sure. I think that's important for everybody to know, is that they do sign off if they read it. Thought that was the case, all right? All in favor? Approve employee manual? Opposed? Thank you. Salary schedule? We have approved this, but I think there's a couple of updates.
Move to approve the extra duty and activity pay salary schedules with revisions as presented.
Second.
Words are hard today.
Discussion? Do you have anything? Pretty cut and dry, what we have here?
Pretty cut and dry.
All right, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Approval of board priorities, board goals for 22-23.
Move to approve board priorities for the 2022-2023 school year as presented.
Second.
I thought this looked good.
That looks good too.
Thank you.
I think I was excited about seeing the fact that it was student-based about reading, writing, listening, having the ability for the literacy. I really am excited that that came out of our workshop last week, is that's what our focus for kids is, and how the parent community and partnerships has grown as far as our bullets. I commend you for adding that as well to our goals. But I think that they are representative of the post-COVID time of that we've really got to engage our community and our parents and our students and work towards a goal of we're here to educate kids. And I think that I'm very excited about these goals for the board.
I'll just echo that, coming out of COVID, You know, there's so much distraction over the last couple of years and the focus on teaching and learning, and supporting teachers because they support their students. It's just real critical for us. And so I appreciate the team pulling together and dropping those priorities.
And the one other thing I'd say about our goals, I'm not, but I also, everyone always wants to measure everything, and I think sometimes this is a good jumping off point. It doesn't have to be measured, it has to be, this is our focus. And that sometimes we get so measured on statistics that statistics can make liars of all of us. So sometimes it's okay to just say, this is our goal, this is our jumping off point, this is our focus on continuing to try to grow this, you know, parent-community partnerships. And I think that sometimes it's okay to not have to have a measurable tied to it, to be able to say, yes, we did this, or no, we did not. So.
Well, and as we're committed to this, not putting it on the shelf, it's what we're going to look at every month, I hope, or even more than that, is we have things to measure, but we'll also have evidence of how we've done it. And that, I think it's important. We don't know, we may not know what all that evidence is right now.
That's
and
right.
So it's leaving it open to see what are all the things we can do to meet these goals. And so I think that's really important for all of us as a board to think about is, this is the task we have, this is the task we've checked off the box, but it's a living document that we want to continue to review and charge our staff to execute for us.
And it should be the central theme in our quarterly workshop sessions. So hopefully we'll get some meaningful discussion regarding our updates at that point.
When really everything that you do as a board that's on the agenda ties to one of these, or should. And if it doesn't, then maybe I wonder why we're doing it. But it does, and so that's a good thing too. Okay? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All right. Approval of the board manual.
Move to approve board manual as presented with delegation of authority to the superintendent or designee to make revisions as to formatting, clerical, or administrative changes as deemed appropriate.
Second.
Check my box. But I want to put a little asterisk that it just needs to come to me on that, since I can make all the rules for the board. I'm okay.
Well, we spent a lot of time on this at the workshop.
Yes, we did.
Which
John's
was-
group me text.
Which was beneficial, I think, for all of us to
Yeah.
do that. And so this does reflect the work that we just recently did and approved, so.
And we went through every line, you know, and I think that that's important for people to know. Like, we didn't just check a box here to say, yeah, we're okay with it. We went through every piece to make sure that it was in alignment with our board goals, in alignment with our, you know, school policies, in alignment with. We did a lot of hard work as well. I made a comment to, I think, one of the board members that, you know, this is like, you know, you have a football game Friday night, but what people don't see is all the hard running and practice that you put in all during the week. And I would say that the board, as well as administrators, we all put in a lot of wind sprints on all of this to make us be better for our kids and better for our community. And so I commend everybody on the board and administrators for the hard work we put in.
All in favor of approving the board manual? Opposed? Thank you. Board member comments?
Thank you for coming to speak about safety and security. I think that is something over the last few months, 6 months, has been a discussion with us board members, with the administration, and you guys are our boots on the ground of getting in and out of these buildings. So we need to know what that looks like. We go to the buildings, but every building is different. And some of your concerns are valid. They're happening in buildings, and we need to know. So thank you. And we'll do better.
I just want to ask you, you mentioned some other schools. What districts were those others, you know, like the badge or the ID?
So Smithville was one of them.
Okay.
One of my friends has a child in one of the elementary schools, and she said that before they're even allowed access into the school, they have to have an ID scan.
Okay.
So, and I believe it's similar to, in one of the North Kansas City schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stanley does it as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just was wondering.
And I will say, in 2017, we put in secure entries in most of our buildings. So in 2017, we started our process, right? Like we
Yeah.
actually acknowledged, hey, we need to make some changes.
Yeah.
And I think that to your point, I think that after Uvalde, I mean, obviously, I mean, it breaks your heart as a parent, that any parent has to go through that. And we're, of course, I mean, we all talked as soon as that occurred, and we all said, hey, we need to review our procedures. And I think that Todd White before Dr. Miller did that, but I think that it shows that we can continue that process and continue that work. And I appreciate you coming and standing up. I think that takes a lot of courage, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
Welcome, Dr. Miller.
Welcome to your
First
You look
committee.
familiar, but.
Yeah, been around.
And Zach, I know you guys
Yep.
have worked hard the last couple of weeks. And Jennifer, you're telling them everything they need to know, right?
I hear a lot.
Along with the other
Yeah.
staff that's here. But no, you guys, a lot of people have the myth that schools shut down for the summer and not much happens. And you guys are working harder than ever. So we appreciate it.
Thank you.
On the days.
Okay.
What you guys do? Sorry, the survey for days, I was just, no, okay.
New teacher in service, important dates, so less than a month, we have the new teachers coming in, August 11, 12. Teachers start on the 15th, our next board meeting is the 17th, open houses on the 18th, August 19th is our convocation for staff, 10 a.m., and the 23rd is the first day of school.
Yes. Oh,
Which a teacher very eloquently explained at a scout meeting earlier this week why school starts on Tuesdays, that the teachers love it that way. So in case we thought we should change that, they love it that way. Okay. Miscellaneous.
Action for closed session to immediately precede the regular meeting in August, including any record or vote to discuss items and issues allowable under section 610-021 of the Missouri Sunshine Law.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Meredith Cole, Brian Ham, Dan Holloway.
Yes.
John Kern.
Yes.
Bruce Switzer.
Yes.
Susan Morman, Darlene Bailey.
Yes.